Black America, they've been playing with your emotion.
Battery 40%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
Black America, they've been playing with your emotions. If you were a Kamala supporter and you were like, what, we gonna get a black woman? Wow, amazing. I can't believe the historical impact of this. They've been playing with your emotions, man. I think we all need to keep our heads on straight.
I feel that the future is bright.
Let's not trip. Don't give in to the propaganda.
And that we will have a new president.
Just look at it for what it is.
Who will be elected, and she will lead the nation with integrity and with a sense of fairness and justice, and she will be me. I feel...
I didn't get a chance to look at her website. Buck hit me up. He said, Tim, Kamala's got policies on her website now. And I'm like, wow, that was just in time for the debates. Just so she could say, I got policies up there. Gives everyone just about what? 20 hours or 15 hours to look at them? Just before America finds out who she is. Get what I'm saying? Many Americans have no idea. And then they present her as an HBCU grad.
As a proud HBCU graduate, I know firsthand the value of attending an institution like yours.
And cooks collard green in her bathtub.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub. I'm telling you the truth.
Keep this in mind, folks, that there's this thing called polling. And polling is just a snapshot in time. It don't really tell you what people are going to do. So I got a feeling. All the polling that says Trump is down, or the polling that said he was down, there were a lot of people that were questioning and didn't want to say they were going to vote for Trump because they've been calling the guy Hitler for 8 years. They've been calling him a racist, a sexist, a crook, a corrupted person still in democracy. So it's got to be a lot of folks who just didn't want to say, yeah, I'm going to vote for that guy. So we got those people, right? Then we got people who I got to imagine said they were voting for Kamala, who were just saying that because, well, sound like the right thing to say. You know what I'm saying? It just felt like maybe I should say that, you know, because I don't want to be called a racist. So, yeah. So we got people that believe in Trump or prefer him. I don't even know if they believe in him, but there are people that prefer him over Kamala. But there's a lot of reasons why they might not want to say that. I know you've been hearing a lot of stuff from CNN and MSNBC, but if I was you, I'd take everything you've been hearing from Joy Reid, The View, and all those folks with a grain of salt. Nah, a cup of salt.
Well, we begin with brand new polling showing former President Trump pulling ahead of Vice President Kamala Harris. Maybe a sign that her momentum has stalled. New York Times Siena College poll shows Trump leading Harris by 1 point in this super tight race. And the new polls show Trump also remains popular with a 46% approval rating. That's big. Better than where he stood in either of his last two presidential campaigns.
And see, that's one of the things I've been trying to tell folks, man. I know I'm going to have butthurt people in the comment section, and it comes with the territory. But I think they've been playing with your emotions. Black America, they've been playing with your emotions. If you were a Kamala supporter and you were like, what, we gonna get a black woman? Wow, amazing. I can't believe the historical impact of this. They've been playing with your emotions, man. I truly do not believe And the Democratic Party expected her to do anything other than what they're doing right now with smoke and mirrors. They're as surprised as anyone else. They were able to raise that much money. They're surprised that people are even buying their shtick. But it's got to end at some point where people got to go, let me test drive the car. Let me hear let me hear something. See, they've been playing with people's emotions, getting them excited.
All right, let's leave him be. Good morning to everybody. 11:24 in the morning, Thursday, September 12th. Already halfway through September. Unbelievable. Time flies when you're waiting for things. The only stock on our screen, my screen, that's up today is Finger. Although, yeah, that's true. The only one that's up is Finger. It's at 208. Next week, there'll be a decision by the Federal Reserve on interest rates. I guess they're going to lower it because they said they would. But I don't know. I don't know how they can. And I also think it's probably a mistake. But anyway, that's something. Nvidia just had a snapback rally, and that's enough to get the semiconductors and the tech stocks rallying again. And the news is doom and gloom, but I still stand by the odds favor a huge rally in the stock market ahead. Unsustainable. It'll be the last hurrah, but that's what I still see coming. I still think Kamala Harris will be our next president, and we'll finally be able to test how wonderful it will be to have a president of her talent. So before Ham comes on, I haven't read this article. I just thought I'd call it to your attention. I think we're going to see ahead of us the beginning of a massive super cycle in commodities. If Trump is somehow allowed to be elected, I think he's going to go on a mission of rebuilding America, really, not just a slogan. And that'll be everything from infrastructure to factories to possibly, I hope, I wish, a high-speed train from Richmond, Virginia to Boston. But things like that, bridges and downtowns. I think he's going to work on downtowns. So that's going to set off a demand for things like copper, iron, steel, and it'll create jobs. If Kamala's elected, I think her deal with the devil is she's going to let China run the world, let the neocons run her in terms of foreign policy. We're very likely to be at war with Russia, which is one of the most insane things I can think of. But war means same thing. It's the same thing. It's just the flip side of the same coin. It means we'll need iron, we'll need silver, we'll need to build tanks, ships, jeeps, sophisticated weaponry. Hospitals will come back in vogue because of the injured, and cities will be hit. I mean, it's really frightening. But hey, every 80 years or so, the human mind can't remember what happened before, and we got to go to war. Now it's going to be led mostly by women, and I know somebody said yesterday that I have a problem with women. I don't know. I'm not sophisticated or deep enough to figure it out. But it is factual that this drive against Russia has been led by women. And some men in England now abed shall hold their manhoods cheap, whilst we pull back our sleeves and say, these I got on Crispin's Day. All right, so I just want to read this. It won't take long, and then we can wrap a little bit. Egon von Greyerz, who I really like, English is not his first language, so excuse him from the start. He's got an article out called $1 Million Gold Price. It's a little bit of a clickbait. It was always inevitable that the gold price would reach 1 million. So now we are there. The price for a 400-ounce gold bar, has now reached 1 million. Can you imagine? 400 ounces of gold is 1 million smackers. You could have bought 400 ounces of gold for $100,000 at the turn of the century. It reached $1 million, 400 ounces, on August 16th, 2024, 53 years and 1 day after Nixon permanently said farewell to the dollar as a store of value by closing the gold window. The cost of a 400-ounce gold bar in 1971, when the president said, "Nix on that," was $14,000. In 2000, I was wrong. A 400,000-ounce bar in 2000 was $115,000. And today, a 400-ounce gold bar is $1 million. So, has the value of gold gone up 71x since 1971? No, of course not. The dollar has collapsed by 98.5%. So let's look at that number differently. And this trains you to start seeing things in cycles. How many ounces of gold would $14,000 buy in 1971? Well, you know the answer. 400 ounces. How many ounces would $14,000 buy of gold in the year 2000? 49 ounces. How many ounces would $14,000 buy of gold in 2024? 6 ounces. 6 ounces. Sounds like what they do to our stocks. This is a loss of purchasing power of 98.5% over the 53 years between 1971 and 2024. That's shocking. I can still remember Nixon resigning or holding the tapes out. It was when he had the tapes, and a bead of sweat dropping off the end of his nose. Just think about it. If you put up $14,000 in the bank in 1971 and earned 4%, that would be $116,000 today. A far cry from the $1 million that the same amount invested in gold. Real money. This is a different author using the same terminology. Real money would be worth. So what does closing the gold window mean? That was Nixon. It simply means that after August 15, 1971, the dollar could no longer be converted to gold by any investor, private or sovereign. Before we look at the fatal consequences, let's just look at the folly of the West. First, we see the strength of the currency based on the strength of the economy. Your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow. Wisdom of the East, China. As written by the official government body, the People's Daily, China saw it coming. The People's Daily, August of 1971, quote, "These unpopular measures reflect the seriousness of the U.S. economic crisis and the decay and decline of the entire capitalist system." Quote, "Mark the collapse of capitalist monetary system with the U.S. dollar as its prop. Nixon's new economic policy cannot extricate the U.S. from financial and economic crisis." So the West, Egon goes on to write, so the West is only interested in instant gratification, issuing debt, and thus buying short-term prosperity and votes, leading to decay and decline. So let's look at the decay and decline of the United States. He gives a chart. I still want to learn how to do this. I've tried so hard, my dear, to show that you're my only dream. I can't figure out how to make this show a web page. So anyway, the dollar crash, since Nixon temporarily devalued the dollar in 1971, the dollar is down 98.5% as of 2024, and Egon is predicting an additional 99% decline in the value of the dollar. Measuring the dollar against gold is the only correct method to determine the real purchasing power of the dollar. To measure currencies against each other serves no purpose. All that tells us is which currency will win the race to the bottom. What will destroy the dollar and all Western currencies, not the ruble, not the yuan, will be the exponential growth of debt led by the United States. In 1971, the federal debt was 426 billions. In 2000, it was 5.8 trillion, the US federal debt. In 2009, folks, I'm not going to save your houses for you. I'm just going to help out the banks, folks. 11.7 trillion the US debt was. 2024, which is Biden, but it's, in fairness, it's also Trump. 2024, the federal debt is 35 trillion. So US debt from 1971 to 2024 has grown by 82x. The GDP in 1971 was 1.1 trillion. The GDP in 2000 was 9.9 trillion. The GDP in 2009, 14.6 trillion. The GDP this year, 28.6 trillion. So the debt as a ratio to GDP in 71, 39%. In 2000, 58%. In 2009, 80%. 2024, 124%. With debt up 82 times since Nixon closed the gold window in 1971, and GDP only up 26 times, it is not difficult to see that the US engine is running on empty. Just look at the super exponential phase of debt growth since 2009, the year the great financial crisis was supposed to have ended. Since 2009, United States debt has trebled. It's all about the base. The U.S. debt has trebled, while GDP has only doubled. But it has, of course, that financial crisis has not ended at all. More and more debt is required to create growth. Consequently, since 1971, U.S. debt to GDP has gone from 39% to 122%. Over 90% of the debt to GDP is considered junk. Let me read that differently. I can barely read out of this eye, so as I move to the right, I lose the focus on what I'm reading, so I apologize for that. And I don't think it's written well. Over 90% of debt, a ratio of over 90% debt to GDP, the debt is considered junk. And over 122%, the country is considered to be in Banana Republic territory. We're in Banana Republic territory. But it won't stop there. A pure statistical extrapolation of the debt trends tells us that by 2036, after we have another couple of terms of folks, the debt will be 100 trillion. And that's the number I said to you guys. I predicted 100 trillion. And here Egon's saying it. I guess we're both loonies. I said by 2050, 100 trillion. He's saying by 2036. I guess he's more of a loony than I am. I have explained many times how fast the exponents phase I don't know what he's saying. I have explained many times how fast the exponents phase of a dot crisis and currency collapse develops. The conclusion is simple. I mean, I don't know what he meant, but the point is things accelerate. You can, I forget the model, but you can sit in a football stadium and you add a drop of water and then you add double that, then you add double that, then you add double that, and it takes a long, long time to get up to the seats. And then to get to the top, it's just a matter of minutes. The exponential rate of growth just accelerates to the point you can't keep up with it. The conclusion is simple. The U.S. government, together with all Western governments, are destroying the fabric of society by constantly spending more than they earn. Even the word earn is deceitful. Governments don't earn anything. They will just willfully levy taxes and other charges against the people without their consent. After decades of suffering from high taxes, people are entirely socialized and expect the government to pay for everything. Do the people of the United States and Europe want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on the Ukraine? Do they want to pay similar amounts for the immigrants, many of whom get preferential treatment when it comes to housing, Social Security, hospital, etc.? Well, nobody knows what the people want, since they were never asked. But I doubt they would approve this spending if they had a say. Where is the money coming from? Nor does anyone ask where all this money is coming from. It definitely hasn't been earned by the government. The government doesn't even have the money it's paying out. It just creates money out of thin air and creates ever-increasing deficits, which lead to exponentially growing debts. Sounds like counterfeit shares in stock positions. The people are pacified since they believe that the government is paying. Nobody understands that all this debt is owed by the people to themselves. But they can, of course, never afford to repay it, the debt, in taxes and other levies. Nobody understands that the consequences will be the value of money will continue to drop catastrophically, and it will lead to poverty, famine, shortages of many items, homelessness, social unrest, and probably war. And once a country reaches that stage, the government is powerless. They are bankrupt and have no funds to assist anyone. The risk of anarchy is high, and we'll see how strong feminism is when anarchy is high. There will be strong men, and little guys and women will gather around strong men when there's anarchy. It's just how it goes. The risk of anarchy is high since the government will have few tools to maintain law and order. So, can we predict such a dark period? It requires no predictive powers, but just a study of history. That's a separate article. I can read that another time. Just take the United States mismanagement of the country's finances as the inevitable journey to serfdom. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys. And I was hoping for better results in these stocks by now. But that's what I hope each of you can avoid, is this nightmare coming. And to me, the only way to do it is to get out of the slavery of owing money to the banks and to own what you know, whatever it is that you know. And if you don't know anything, just own precious metals, commodities, oil and gas, land, and be friends with your neighbors, have each other's backs. And we just have to get through this period ahead. Just take the U.S. government's mismanagement of the country's finances as the inevitable journey to serfdom. With a handful of exceptional years, the United States has increased the federal debt since the early 1930s. Even the so-called Clinton surplus years, the debt went up. So the surpluses were fake. As current growth is derived from creating debt with zero intrinsic growth, the growth is only illusory. The world will soon understand that it is all a fantasy game with trillions of unreal assets created by even more trillions and quadrillions of debt. And you can guarantee that Goldman Sachs is in there claiming their piece of every bit of those quadrillion before you realize what's going on, including derivatives made out of thin air, quadrillions of debt. In the next few years, the world will realize that debt has zero value, since neither sovereigns, corporations, or individuals can repay their debt or even afford the interest. Remember that the official global debt is around 350 trillion, that's with the T. Plus, a big part of the derivative time bomb could be measured in quadrillions. Much of the derivatives will transition into debt. As the debt implodes, so will all bubble asset values. All bubble asset values. I know of only one asset that's not at its previous high. That's silver. And maybe Trump's poll numbers might be the other thing. I don't know. The billionaires who will lose all or most of their zeros, they'll lose most of their wealth, and so will the trillion-dollar companies. The wealth transfer will be shocking. The wealthy have the most to lose, including their necks. Some have been clever and are debt-free, but most are levered and will lose everything. Everyone will suffer, rich or poor. However, the poor and ordinary people have the most to lose, with no reserves, no safety net, and a bankrupt government won't be able to help them. The few who have understood that future prosperity comes from natural resources will obviously be in a better position. She's not going to help us. Technology will be a growth area, but it's currently overvalued, as it was in the 1990s. The asset-rich BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, India, Iran, China, and South Africa, and now it's many more countries, will be major beneficiaries, whilst the debt-infested West will experience the end of a major era, or error maybe. These are all major shifts which will evolve over decades and even centuries, but the beginning could be very rapid and most probably violent for the whole world, West and East. Economic decline, financial collapse, wars, political and social unrest, poverty, food shortages, as well as mass migration will lead to major cultural shifts. So how can we be confident this will take place? Well, history tells us that it will with great certainty. History never lies, and it never fails us as lying politicians do. And they do so without exception for their political survival. But history won't tell us when, of course, so the exact timing is always unknown. We also know the world has never experienced a global debt bubble of such magnitude, so the timing is almost irrelevant. It's important to understand that the risk is now higher globally than at any point in history. As I have outlined, a continued and steep decline in the dollar in the coming years is a virtual certainty. There is no gold window to close anymore, so the U.S. government is almost certain to implement foreign exchange controls as the dollar falls. I wouldn't be surprised, this is Egon von Gregitz, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes relatively soon, but the timing is irrelevant. The risk is here today, and now is the time to prepare for it. Thus, for Americans, it would be an advantage to have funds or assets outside of the United States as soon as possible. Physical gold and silver are clearly the best assets to hold, as they also protect against dollar debasement. Switzerland and Singapore are obvious places to hold gold. Maybe. You can imagine in war they won't be safe, but they are obvious places. Switzerland has a strong currency. That's not 100% true. And a very sound economy. Any place where they yodel is a sound economy. Exchange controls would be unlikely here. What is extremely important is to not hold your precious metals through a U.S. company or other entity, which the U.S. government can order to return the gold or silver from a foreign vault to the United States. Hold your metals in a Swiss or a Singaporean company who has no United States links. For anyone who has savings, big or small, putting them into physical precious metals can make the difference between survival and misery. It's like getting married. Most people can afford to buy a few silver coins every month, and most can buy one or more small gold bars or coins. With the acceleration of the dollar's debasement and shift in central bank reserves out of dollars into gold, the revaluation of gold in coming years will be by many multiples. As I keep on saying, the real move in gold and silver hasn't started yet. But above all, a harmonious and close circle of family members and friends is crucial to survive the difficult times ahead.
Battery 40%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
All right. I didn't get a chance to go through your messages. Ham wants to talk now.
Hello.
You're on.
Hold on.
Unburdened by what has been.
So I'm reading a story right now on Macro Edge. She posted on Twitter that Price Waterhouse is being attacked for some fraudulent activity. And it says Price Waterhouse unit is laying off 1,800 workers in its first formal layoff since GFC to address declining demand. These firms like Jeffries and these guys who are allowing the fraud of naked short selling to continue, eventually the downfall when they lose billions of dollars, regular people in the firms all lose their jobs. That's the fallout from this crime that no one talks about. When there's this much fraud, 2,000 people are getting laid off. They probably had nothing to do with whatever was going on there, but they're all going to get fired because of what a few have allowed to go through. All right, that's the fallout from this nonsense. Again, people don't think it, whether it's a drug or this, but here's the opposite side. How many people were fired from Credit Suisse that worked there their whole life, had nothing to do with what was going on. They weren't in risk, they were in back office, compliance, whatever it was. No one stopped them. Business was usual, and these guys, when the shit hit the fan, they all got fired. No one talks about the damage, what happens to the employees that work at these places. That's on the sides that allowing the fraud to continue. The SEC allows this to go on, and the fallout, besides the investors losing, the companies losing, and when the bad guys get caught, look at the damage they cause on that side. There's nothing good from this whole thing. Zero. The only one that makes money is guys like Ken Griffith, Jeff Easton. They're just stealing whatever they can. So you get a pack of 1,000 people stealing the money. Most of them are small shops with a couple of people working there, and they're destroying companies, jobs. Like, look at Jeff Easton. He's got his fingers in KNW. I don't know who works for that company, but he has his fingers in there. GMGI. He killed SYTA. He killed RWLK. There's so many that, just think of the damage. All these companies, when their stock price goes down, they lay people off. Just the way it goes. Then we have no money to pay anyone. It's a death spiral all over the place. Anyway, so I just gave you the pro and the con of what's going on. If they force stock settlement, you can see what happens, the benefits. GameStop has $4 billion in the bank. GameStop is hiring programmers, whatever the hell they're hiring. They're giving jobs out. They're taking office space. Completely different turnaround, right? It's like the sun is shining at GameStop over a short squeeze. Look at the difference. The guy from, I forget his name. Oh, wait, what was the guy that was short? Who got blown out in GameStop? I forgot his name. Merlin Capital. He lost $8 billion. Instead of him having $8 billion, him and his rich friends, GameStop has the money and they're employing people, and it's turned around the whole thing. So it's Robin Hood. Take from the rich, give to the poor. That's exactly what this is. All right, let's move along, William. Enough of that nonsense. FingerMotion, since we are the FingerMotion channel here. FingerMotion, late last night, about 12:01, I waited up to see if the data would be posted after 12 midnight, and it was. The real short went from 1,420,000 to 1,720,000. They sold 300,000 more shares. Everyone on this call, please, I don't care if you own one share, call your broker. Do not lend your share out. You're going to make very little from it, but someone is lending the shares out, or they're taking it. I posted the other day. Someone said they were lending their shares out. They didn't want them to, but they did. He called them back in. I posted it. They are desperate for shares to short. And the only reason they're paying to borrow these shares is because they're having a tough time naked short selling. So they had to go into real short selling now. The naked short wants no one to even know they exist. Do you realize they're showing you they're showing us the proof that they're naked short selling? The real short has gone up. They're shorting it at the low. They're not shorting it at $7. They're shorting it at $2. We know the dates that they're shorting it. We can see the trades. Most people here have been following it. They're shorting it at 2. They're not shorting it. They're trying to break the stock, hold it down, do anything. This is a complete sign of desperation. These guys are doing everything possible trying to break the stock. They can't borrow more shares. They can't naked short much more. It's like yeast, William. It's coming out of everywhere. They can't stop it. You know, the rise of all these shares. They can't hide it anywhere. What is it? The guy put his finger in the dam. What was that called? What was his name?
Hans Christian Andersen? No, that wasn't.
Yeah.
That wasn't him. I don't think.
You know,
He was an ice skater.
They can't hide what they're doing anymore. They don't want people to know what they're doing, and by reporting and borrowing shares, that we all get to see that. Okay, and last night you got a great view of it. Do you know they sold 300,000 shares? I've been saying they're not covering. We can see it, and the only seller is them. But they're not doing it naked. Now they're doing it with borrowed shares. Now, the person that is shorting these shares, that is borrowing them, their average, I've been saying, is around 265, but now they sold 300,000 more down here. That number is dropping to 250, my friends. That means the most they can make, if the company went to zero tomorrow, is 1.7 million times $2 or whatever, is 3.4 million, a little bit more than that. That's the most they can make. Each day, they have to pay a fee, and that number goes lower. It could be 250. Tomorrow it could be 249 and a half, 249. After a week, it's going to be down 3 cents, 4 cents. It keeps going lower. So the most they can make keeps going lower. This is a trade that not one firm on Wall Street would allow. A hedge fund, nobody would allow this trade. That's how stupid it is. The most you can make is 250. The most you can lose is infinite. That will bring down a hedge fund. It can bring down a bank. It can bring down a prime broker, because they're going to walk away from the trade. Just think about GameStop, 3 3/4 to 500. Imagine losing $500 2 million times. That's what's at stake here. That's how stupid this is. The only reason that person is doing a real short is because they're tied to the naked short. No one would do that trade. This is a desperation trade. They're telling you that they're dead in the water. That's what it's telling me. It's clear as day. Okay, I told you, they need to try to create volatility. They can't even create it. We have people been sucking up the stock, and you can see that people are buying it. And now we know that they're buying it because there's the proof that they've been trying to sell it down, and they can't. A gentleman posted the other day, he bought 20,000. He posted on Twitter, he bought 20,000. I just spoke to a guy who played pickleball. He's going to buy it. You remember I told you about a stock a while ago? Nancy Eddy. It was a nuclear company. The guy told me to buy it. I said it on the air, and the stock was going down, and I advised him to buy a little each day it goes down. And he bought it from, instead of paying 10, he paid $9.70, $9.25, $8.70. I think it went down to $8. So he averaged it around $9. He thanked me for it. Today he sold it. He sold it around $13 or something like that. All right, so this is, so that guy sold that stock, and now he's going to buy FingerMotion. I helped him out. He wanted to buy. He goes, I've been talking about FingerMotion with him. He said he's going to get his friends to stop buying FingerMotion. That's Wall Street. That's how it works. But the desperation that was posted last night is a red flare. He's shooting in the air. These guys are risking. Just think about this, William. The most they can make is $3.5 million. The most they could lose is infinite and go to jail. No one would risk losing every penny of a firm, a bank, whatever it is, and risk going to jail to make $2.50. It doesn't pay. And that's what's at stake here. We got 39 days to go, and these guys will be exposed. Now, between here and then, we got the dividend. Now, they went up another 300,000, so 1.7 million times 10%, they're going to be short 170,000 warrants. So we welcome them. Keep shorting it, because they're just creating another mess. 230 million naked shorts. That's 23 million warrants. Now 1.7. That's another 170,000 warrants. I mean, this is getting to the stage where it's basically insane. That's how crazy this is. The risk reward is off the charts to the upside. Off the charts. I've never seen anything like this. Usually they let the stock run. If they let the stock run, people that are buying it will give up. Like the gentleman who just told me he's going to go buy it. Because what should he pay? I says, well, just go out there. They're selling it. Take it when they want to give it to you. Because when they stop, remember GDC, they stopped and the thing ran to 12. That's what happens. They just explode. They don't tell us when. I don't know when they're going to fold. But every red light is on. Every green light is on that it's coming. The race is going to start soon. I can't tell you what day, but these signs are signs of desperation. No one presses the bet 300,000 shares lower. They let the stock go up before they do it. So again, these trades were done before the stock spiked to $3, by the way. So that's why the timing on these things is a lag from the reporting of the short numbers. So we're basically in the next period, we get to see what they've done, which is, another 10 days away. So these numbers were all at the low. So 265, I said, I'm guessing at this point. So it's got to be down 260, 250 range. And who wants to sell it lower? Only these guys. The only reason they're selling it lower is to try to get you to sell. That's it. There's no other reason. If they had any brains, they let the stock go higher and then short it higher, but they can't. They can't let it go up because they get a margin call. Does everyone understand that? I want people to understand what we're saying here. William, anybody have any questions? I don't know.
I'm sure they do. Let me look. Apparently the short interest in GDC jumped the real short from 57,000 to 1.3 million. How likely is it that Finger doesn't squeeze
Wait a second. Did the real short?
in GDC went from 57,000 to
Wow.
1.3
You're right.
million.
Nice find. I didn't see that. Thank you. Wow. That's a good one. I see it. 1.3. 60. It was 65,000. I reported it yesterday. I was so excited about the FingerMotion, I forgot to look at GDC. Wow.
That's
All right.
brought to you by a beautiful dog out on his walk. It's Mark Maddox
Beautiful.
said it, but he's got a picture of his dog.
Beautiful.
How likely is it that Finger doesn't squeeze until the short's average price comes all the way down below the current share price?
We're right there. You realize how screwed these guys are. Just think of it, thinking that you're doing it. Just think if you're the short seller, what would you be doing? You'd be trying anything because you can't get out of it. The minute you stop selling, the stock is going to rip. That's all you need to know. And it's getting closer. You can see the volumes right up.
Jeff Grimm bought more Finger today. Mike says that GDC looked like it's trading like GME at $9 when GME was trading at $9 before GME took off. Do you think so? What are your thoughts?
It's trading like GameStop before it took off.
Yeah.
Listen, I know very smart people that have been accumulating GDC. Does that mean it's showtime? I don't know when it's going to go. I know people I know they're buying it. I told you last week they bought 120, 30,000, something like that around here. And, there's rumor of a big buyer around. People hear these things. And, if they're buying it, they must have some pretty good knowledge of it. It could be, I told you, these stocks have a spike. They pull back. If they can't knock it out, they're going to go back up. The next leg is coming. I agree.
It was Hans Brinker who put his finger in the dike.
Well, that's what they're doing in FingerMotion right now. And obviously they're doing it in GDC. The short interest, GDC, I can see shorting it at $7, right? If you wanted to be a short seller, $7 is the place. FingerMotion shorting it at $2. FingerMotion's got 100 real business things going on, and GDC I don't know much about. So, I look at it saying, okay, which short is the better short? Obviously, the one that's $7 with no business versus FingerMotion with a business is not the right short. That's how I look at it, So you got to think about those type of things. But listen, the buyers on the GDC, I guess they smell blood in the water, so that's the only reason I'm paying attention to it. The easy money has been made. I've been telling you the guys that. Sometimes you guys don't understand it. The easy money's been made. Now it's the hard part. You got to sit there and worry. What did they do? You got to learn more about it. That's not my thing. The easy money's been made already. I'm just reporting what I hear and what I see. That's all.
Do you think the Fed uses naked shorts to influence the market, and that's why they can't admit that it's happening?
I think that the government, I think naked short selling's got out of control, and the government doesn't know how to fix it. There's so many big players, they're too big to fail in here now. How do they get them to stop? How do they get them out? It's exposed. By getting stocks like GameStop out of the spotlight, FingerMotion's never going to make the cover of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal until it squeezes to $2,000, $3,000. Then they'll talk about it and say, "Oh, it's a small company." Rah, 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 rah. They'll mumble it like that. GameStop was a big New York Stock Exchange company, and that's why it got all the press. All right. FingerMotion's going to be one of those stocks that squeezes. And when it goes, everyone will make a lot of money, and they won't really talk about it much. They try to make believe those things don't happen. But that's why it's happening. We're finding the needle in the haystack is what we're doing. We found it. And we documented the whole thing. I can't document it any more than I have. You know, people like this, well, keep us up, keep us up. I told you the real short interest came out at 12. I put it up at 12:01 last night. I don't think you can get any faster than that. And I explained and I posted everything, every thought about what's happening with it. And that comes from working on a trading desk and working closely with hedge funds and understanding how they think. If you don't understand how they think, how do you trade? You know, you got to trade based on how they think, because that's who you're going against. And these guys, it's all fraud. There's no thinking here. You know, that's how it goes.
Can you give an update on GTII and why it went up and down like that?
It went up and down because it's a yo-yo. There's no real market in it. So if you're short the stock, now 197 shares traded at 2 cents. You can't even buy it, but it's a gray market. Some people can buy it, some people can't. I don't know how you buy it. So if you can't buy it, what are you looking at?
Well, I'll give you one likely thing. The bid's probably 2 and the ask is 9, because those are the 2 data points we have. It traded at 9, now's it trading at 2. That's not a smart thing to buy if you're trading. If you have a long-term strategy, maybe that's something.
Listen,
you know.
if you made some FU money and you could buy it somewhere between here and there, I would take a shot on it. But I don't have FU money to throw into a black hole. I'd rather pay $1 for it when it's in play and there's a merger partner and all the legal stuff is behind it. So let Richard, he updates us all on it in a video. Take the time, go follow Richard Hoffman, and he's giving you every update on it possible. It's all legal right now, and it's turning to where it's going to start going back to being a normal public company. So we have to wait.
That's pretty nice. This guy's Aaron has been buying Finger for 84 trading days, 1 share a day. So he has 85, I guess, shares now that he's bought. Keeps the stress off because he feels like he's doing something.
That's fantastic. I told William this morning, my friend works at a big firm that actually had a call with FingerMotion. I told you guys about that. And he says he buys every day 5,000 to 10,000 shares for hedge fund clients. And William said, that's great. That's how they buy it? I said, that's how they buy it. You know?
And one day the price jumps. So
that's how it works.
Not saying Ham is wrong about risk. I am long Finger. It seems, though, that somebody is taking that risk to short the stock at 2.
They're shorting the stock because they're protecting the naked short. Isn't it funny that GDC all of a sudden went from 65,000 shares short to 1,200,000? You see they come in and they're trying to push it back down. That's what's going on. I told you before, when a stock spikes, short sellers come in. That's what makes the stocks go higher on the next spike, because you have the GDC original naked short sellers, and now you have a real short seller. They may be tied to the naked, they may be a new group, right? And that gives it the booster rocket. So when GDC does spike next time, you got the naked short panicking, and then he'll activate the real short to cover the 1.2 million. That's how shorts work. And that's what propels the stocks even higher. FingerMotion is completely different. FingerMotion has one naked short, and the naked short is 100% tied to the real short. FingerMotion has not had the spike that GDC have. So what what real short seller, and everybody on the phone, would you go out and try to short FingerMotion at 210 without a spike up? I don't know anybody who would do that. You would sell it at the low, short, trying to make $2. No one would do that. I could see if the stock spiked to 10 and you want to take a shot on the short side, you had a spike of, up $8, then you could short it. I got it. But down here, it doesn't make any sense. The only reason they're doing it is to protect the naked short. Do you understand that?
Yep, I do. I think he does too, now that you
As long as you understand that a spike up, why not take a shot on the short side if you want to play? No spike up, selling it lower, for what reason? They're trying to hold it lower because their buddy, the naked short's in trouble, and they need help. That's why. That's the difference.
So what does this mean? Scott is saying that GDC's available shares to short just jumped by 800,000 in an hour while the
Right.
price was going up.
So there are no shares to short because I believe that there's a group of people that own the whole float 3 times over already. So where are the shares coming from? They're just fabricating them. What did we say yesterday? Pat Byrne did a video. Stock loan is an unregistered part of Wall Street. No one knows what's going on there. They just make up numbers, they get paid, and they just keep doing it. How could it go to 800,000 shares? The other day there were no shares. I think the shares they shorted, the 1.2 million, they're lending those out again, just creating more shares. I don't know what they're doing. Whatever they're doing is fraudulent.
What are your tripwire prices for Finger and GDC?
The tripwire
I
prices.
use that word. He uses trigger prices.
Listen, it's obvious $6. It went above it, pulled back, popped up, and they packed it down. I think it's right around $6. It looks like to me. It gets to 5.5, it stops. It gets over 6. They put all of a sudden it's like we put a stick in a hornet's nest, right? They get pissed off, and they try to push it back down again. And FingerMotion, what did we say the number is? I think $3. We thought obviously it's 250, 260 range. That's where the real short gets busted. So we're 30 cents away from that.
Yeah.
And you say, well, how do you know that? Well, we got to 318. How fast did they knock it back down to 220, right? It went above it for a second, and they crashed it back down because they cannot have it live up there because they can't afford the margin money.
Will it hurt the shorts more if people exercise their warrants or just hold their warrants?
Oh, the shorts are in trouble on the warrants out of the gate. Obviously, if you try to exercise them, they don't have them. If you have 1,000 and let's say the stock is 5, why wouldn't you want to exercise it? You get the stock at 3 and you make $2,000.
Or you can just sell the warrants.
You could just sell the warrants, whatever, because they'll be valued at that price.
Right. Is Ham seeing buying in Finger? Is Ham
Listen,
seeing the buying in Finger or naked shorting passing, washing the shares to cover the real short?
To cover the real short? No, absolutely not. We've been reporting on it. We could see what they're doing. If the real short number is going up, they're not washing trades to cover those. They're washing trades to buy more settlement time. There's only 2 things that can happen. Either they're covering, or if they're washing. If they're covering, is them just buying and selling back and forth to buy more settlement time. Someone is calling for delivery. So what they do is the guy that's short, who must deliver, he goes out and he buys it from another account, and he says, "I'm flat. I bought it yesterday. I bought it from Tony from Morgan Stanley." And the E-Trader says, "Okay, when you get delivery, let me know." Meanwhile, that account is flat. Meanwhile, account number 2 is short. They just keep moving it around. It's like kiting a check. That's what they're doing right now. But the real short is not covering. We always said that the washing could be what? Covering the real short, and we won't know until we see the data. Well, the short went up to 1.7 million, so they're not covering that one. So the washing or the closing transaction is not affecting the real short. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Which option would you buy? I guess on Finger, he doesn't say. Which strike price would you buy?
I would buy garbage options. And you say, what is this guy? Nuts? They're all garbage, right? I look at it, we know that the elections come in November 5th. So the November 3s or the 4s or the 5s, they're 15 cents. And you got 64 days, 15 cents for the November 5s. You could buy the October 18s. So you got 36 days. They're 10 cents. Those are trash options. The way I play it, we got 8 days to go on the September strike. If I was up and running playing, I would buy 1,000 of the September 3s at a nickel for $5,000. All right, I would control 100,000 shares if it goes above 3. Then I would roll out and buy November calls at 15 cents, the 5s, because if it's going to go, it's going way past 5. 15 cents. It's $15 a contract. Just remember that. You don't need to buy. The downside on those trades is 15 cents. The upside is infinite. That's what I'm looking to do. 5 cents for $5,000. I own 100,000 shares. I may lose the $5,000. That's if you're playing and you're up a lot of money, you buy those things. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about with those things?
I don't know if they do. I do, but I don't know.
Okay. As long as if you don't understand it, speak, because it's
Well,
there's different ways to play it.
I mean, you can basically. He's saying you're risking the fewest dollars in terms of premium,
but for the biggest bang on the upside.
Right. Could banks be shorting Finger, I guess, and then using derivatives to hedge their risk?
I don't believe this is a bank play. This is a low life naked short seller. FingerMotion is in the corner of the naked short selling world. This is a specialized corner that is used by people like Lynn Partners and their offshore buddies. That's who's doing this stuff. Citadel is in the GameStops, the DJT. That's where Citadel is, the big boys. In that aspect, I could see them doing some sort of derivatives there. That I could see there. I don't see it here. And how do I know that? Just go look at I'll just go for a second and I'll give it to you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go to free real time to get time and sales here. And I'm going to hit FingerMotion. Hold on. I'm going to hit time and sales to get a quote on time and sales. And time and sales shows me 87 shares, 13 shares, 87. So there's a make-believe trade, same numbers. 1 share, 12 shares, 5 shares, 20 shares, 10 shares, 13 shares, 5, 2, 7, 48, 298, 15, 100, 85. Those are numbers that are the sign of a small player on the opposite side. Citadel's not standing there trying to make sales on 2 shares all day, wasting their computers and their money to play in this stock. This is a small game in this one.
Tom, thanks you for your dedication.
You're welcome. I just look at it. I'm looking at it. He just hit up Jeffrey's stock is going up. never goes down. Market goes down, Jeffries goes up. VIRT, market goes down, the stock's up 46 cents. These firms, they only make money by stealing. All of them. Goldman Sachs, I told you, they make all their money from stock loan. That's still 416. How are these stocks never go down? The market sold off yesterday. What stock are they beating up? DJT, a company that's just starting out. Let's knock it down. There's no reason for it. The market was down. They beat up DJT. The market rallied back. DJT doesn't go up. FingerMotion didn't go back up, down, just to hold it down a dime. They don't even hold it. That's how stupid it is. The market goes up, our stocks don't go up. The market goes down, our stocks go down. The market rallies back, our stocks stay down. They're controlled. That's what the problem is. They're holding it down because they're trying to control the price. Does everyone understand that?
Yep.
They control the price because they want to fuck with your head. They want you to give up. They want you to walk away. We're showing you the crime. But this crime has tremendous rewards when you win. Just go back and look at GameStop. I posted about it. I did a report on it. And the rewards it went from 3 3/4 to over $500. Now, I don't know anybody who sold north of 300. I know people that were buying at 325, buying it just for the gap up in the morning and selling it again. They never held on to it. No one wanted to own the stock because they were afraid that once the music stops, the air pocket on these things would drop like a stone, right? It can go from 500 down in a second. Well, what happened? Exactly that happened. So my friends, we don't play like that. We'll buy the momentum and keep flipping it. That's the difference. That's our background. But FingerMotion, we know more data. I know 10 times more data than we knew in GameStop, and I knew a lot then. We know the short. We know how big the short is. We know how they're thinking. We see what they're doing. Everything. Everything's out in the open. You got inside information given to you by the next president of the United States. He's going to fire Gary Gensler day one. Who is he going to put in? Pat Byrne. Pat Byrne he'll be the executioner. Pat Byrne will enforce stock settlement. I told you shareholders, people on these calls have said, oh, it's going to take a long time to change the rules. The rules are in place. All that needs to happen is that they're being enforced, and it's over with. I trust those people, Devin Nunes, Elon Musk, Pat Byrne, Donald Trump, over Jeff Easton any day. I picked my side. I'll stay with those guys.
There aren't any additional questions, so.
No, I just want to make sure. I just want to thank the guy for the GDC. I passed it to my friends already. I didn't notice that. Thank you. I keep trying to tell people that the name of this game is keep doing your homework. Just keep figuring it out. GDC, the short is somewhere between here and $12. So that short in GDC is higher. I think the average price may be $7.58. They didn't do it all at 12. They didn't sell 1.2 million at 12. That stock had that spike. So, I think they sold it on a major run up. So let's say $7 to $8. So just remember that it's 566. And you saw the stock got to 743 and they beat it back down. So that seems like the spot, like 7.25 is where they really fold. Because that's where the real short is. The naked short is all over the place. I gave you the naked short. It was 590, I think it was. So all the shares, the 100 million shares is 590. The real short is a little higher. Because they sold into the run. FingerMotion, they sold it at the bottom. Complete opposite. They buried themselves to protect the naked short seller. And you say, well, it's only 300,000 shares. When the stock is trading 30,000, 40,000 shares a day, 300,000 is a lot of weight, right? the stock hasn't been trading a lot, right? So we basically just been having this. All of a sudden, we got 300,000 for sale. People keep saying, "You sure there's no seller?" Well, I said it was no seller. But what happens? It comes out in the wash. There's your proof. It's the shorts. GameStop, remember, the company raised money again, raised the money again. Roy and Kitty put out a video I saw talking about how wonderful the company is, that they're raising money, they're building a business and all that. If you believe in their business, whatever it's going to be, invest for the long term. Stop talking about a short squeeze. Buy the stock. The institutional ownership, I put it up before, is at 25.48% now. It was 23.75% before that. So it's up a little bit, one percentage point higher. During the hype, before it exploded, it was at 177%. That's the percentage owned by the float by institutions. It's 25% now. So when the stock spiked to 500, all those big investors that owned 177% all sold, and now it's 25%. There's your key. If you see that number keep going up, that means the institutions will start buying it. Institutions will buy GameStop as they develop their business plan. It's a long-term play now. So if you want to play it, go play it for the long term. Maybe by accident you get a quick pop, but that's, take what you can. If you buy the dips and it rips up $1, $2, because everyone's pushing the short squeeze, sell 99% of what you have and then buy it back. That's what I would do. It's a trading stock. Until the retail investors give up on it finally, hedge funds have all given up on it. And I just think it's a matter of time before it just goes sideways, and it's just a trading stock. It's just a big company. AMC is, hold on, let me slow this again. I said, the AMC did the same thing, and hold on. The AMC, they raised the money. That was the end of that stock, right? What else I want to talk about? No other questions?
No, it's pretty quiet.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. This guy wanted to know how much he should buy. I said, whatever you can afford. I'm not going to tell him. He wants to buy like 25,000. I said, you buy whatever you want. I can't tell you what to do. But so as long as everybody understands, GDC, the short is increased, but the number could be a little higher. FingerMotion, the short increased, but the number is lower. That's the sign of them for trying to protect the naked short. That's it. They're throwing the kitchen sink at us, is what they're trying to do. Right? They threw capybara at us to knock it down from 7, right? The short game is under fire. Andrew Left is going to go to jail. He's giving up everybody. People, go back and read the Anson Fund. They're all giving up each other. Andrew Left now is busted because they gave him up. And what's he going to do? He's going to rat out the next level of people. And when those people get caught, they're going to rat out the next level of people. Jeff Easton, Hal Mintz, all these naked short selling guys are all in the same circle. When they want to knock a stock down, who do they call? They call Ghostbusters. That's Andrew Left. Andrew Left says, I can't do that story. Go call my friend Capybara. Or go call Hindenburg. They got a bigger payday. Hindenburg wants what? Hindenburg wants $1 million a story. I get 500,000 a story. Whatever it is, that's how they work. But they're all going to get caught. They're all going to give each other up. You know, Hindenburg didn't come on the scene, okay, and have a huge following. And the first words they said, "It works." The only reason it works is that they were appointed by somebody that said, "Hey, go start a story, go start a newspaper called the Hindenburg," and when you put it up, we'll all attack it, and everybody's going to say, "Who's Hindenburg?" Oh, they're good. So the first time they do it with 5 people, they attack it. The hedge funds knock it down, and they tell everybody, "Oh, Hindenburg is great." The next time Hindenburg comes out with a story, you got the first 5 guys in there, but now you got 20 new people piling on. So it works more. The next time it's the same 5 people, and since it worked twice now, the third time there may be 500 people on it. That's how they do it, and they build up an army. Now Hindenburg is the axe. Andrew Leff was doing it before. That's how he built it up. Andrew Leff, I remember him, and he was Stock Lemon. For you guys that don't remember, he had a company called Stock Lemon, and he beat up small companies. And then his friend said, "Why don't you go after bigger companies?" So now he went after companies like Etsy. And they were selling a counterfeit. Etsy was selling a counterfeit T-shirt, lost 50% of its value. A counterfeit T-shirt. How did Andrew Leff find a T-shirt? Right? How did he find it? A counterfeit T-shirt. He wouldn't know if a counterfeit $100 bill fell in his lap. He can find a counterfeit T-shirt at Etsy. I wouldn't doubt if the Shorts planted it there. So again, these guys are all plants for somebody. They want the bigger players. The bigger players are taking the swing. But as Andrew Leff became more popular, his payday got bigger because they had to pay him to do the story. There you go. It's pretty easy. And that's how it should work. And that's how it works. That's how those guys work. Remember, when we buy a stock, we have to come up with real money. These guys are just leveraging. That's why they push it down. It's always funny how they got their beer muscles when the stock is pushing lower, right? They come piling on. They were selling FingerMotion down to 180. 172, I bought stock. I told you that. They don't sell it when it's running. They sell it when it's going lower. That shows you what a novice they are. They're just trying to hold it down. I told you, if I was the short, I'd let the stock go higher. If I was the short in FingerMotion, I would go right now, go 3 bid, 4 bid, 5 bid, 6 bid. Everybody be cheering. Go try to sell it, and they drop the bids. 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 then. And everybody said, well, was that the short squeeze? That's what they should do. But they can't let it do that, because if it trades up higher, they get a margin call immediately, and they get bought in. I just told you how to do it. If I'm the short seller, I go 3 bid, 4 bid, 5 bid, 6 bid. My phone, everybody be screaming, what's going on? It's going, it's going. And all of a sudden it drops right back down. They say, what the fuck? I missed it. Right? But they can't let it trade. If it trades at 7, it triggers a margin call. They can't stay short. Imagine being short 1.7 million, 5 points against you, it'd be down $10 million. It'd be down $10 million on a stock that the most you can make is 3. How stupid is that trade? Just do the math on it. That's at $10. Right? You'd be down short what? You're down almost $8 on 2 million shares. If it goes to 10. That, my friends, is a trade that should never be allowed on Wall Street. That is, whoever's doing that, it's unauthorized. No one's watching it. It means a moron is doing it. And they're only doing it for one reason, is to protect the crook. That's it. And the crook is their friend. That's how easy that is to see. If you did that on Stevie Cohen's trading desk, and he came over and looked at you, and you'll say, hey, what did you do? Oh, I'm short 1.7 million shares of the stock at $2.50. I'm paying almost a penny a day to cost to carry, and I think it's going to go to 0. they'll sit there and say, he'll look at you, what? In 30 days, you'll be below $2. The most you can make is $2. Another 30 days, you'll be down to $1.40, $1.50. It keeps going. You make no money, you idiot. Get out of this trade. And if you didn't get out of it, he would buy you in and then throw you out the door. Any firm on the street would do that. Everybody would do that. But for some reason, some idiot is doing this trade. He can go out there and short anything else to make more money, but he's picking a $2 stock that has fundamentals. What is he, insane? And giving out a special dividend, you're going to get short more. That dividend is not going to work. You're going to get tangled up in it. For what? These firms don't like risk. They don't want to be tangled up in more messes. That means this mess is offshore and someone is doing it from someplace else. That's all it is. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
Once again, I thank you for the GDC update. I forgot to look. I didn't even think about it. I looked yesterday, and and I didn't see it. But today I did. Thank you. What else do you want to talk about? I talked about DJT. I posted a story about Devin Nunes telling you there's investigations. How did they not investigate this stock? They tried to assassinate the guy. Whether you like him or not, they shorted the stock. And they tried to assassinate him, and it's all the proof is right there. Everybody's seen it. Johnny Tobacco put up a great chart showing them short 8 million shares of stock 2 days before they tried to assassinate him. And no one's investigating that. I think they are investigating it, and it's just a matter of time before that comes out. I think the attack's telling you that there's something going on, and just like FingerMotion, they need people to get out of the stock. It was 700 million shares short. We've all seen the data, and we're short. The number is way higher. It's like 48, probably lower now, probably 46. The reason it's lower is because they're selling millions of shares at the low. So that number will continue to drop. FingerMotion has not had the huge volume that we had before, so it's coming down slowly. I said it was about 390. It's probably 365, 370 now. That's on the 300. That's on the 230 million shares. So we're really, the average price on that's coming down with the cost to carry. It's coming down, but it's coming down slowly. Very different. The real short, he just loaded himself. He short 1.4 million. He just did, over 10%, right? Almost 20% more at $2. So his average price is dropping quicker. We thought the naked short was doing more. It was the real short doing it. If they just covered the 1.7 with no selling by the real short, by the naked short, the stock would be $10 on 1.7 million covering. With 39 trading days, we're going to 38. And just to touch on the presidential stuff, the debate is a waste of time. There's not one Trump voter that's going to change their mind. Zero. It was there to educate the other side. If they don't want to be taught and they don't want to be part of it, and that's what it was about. Trump goes on those things. You can't win when the deck is stacked against you. So it's impossible. All they did was make themselves look more stupid than before. All right, so that's all it's about. So don't get caught up in that. Trump is going to wipe the street with these people. They have nothing, and don't be concerned about it. Just make sure everybody votes Trump, be part of the movement, and help save yourself. Financial freedom is the key. I'm not here for a smiling face, a handshake. I'm here for none of that. If you can't get financial freedom, you're all going to be buried. I told you yesterday was the best day to trade. Did I not, William?
Yeah.
William?
You did.
I said market down big. People like me, I told you, William, I would have had 10 to 12 trades making 30 to 60 cents on all those trades. Doing 1,000 shares, I would have walked away making 5 to 6,000 yesterday. Those are the best days to trade because people come in trying to rally it back up. It didn't rally back up. It went up on the day. So imagine standing there when the market was down 600. I'm buying 1,000 here, 1,000 here, 1,000 here, all different names. And they all start popping like popcorn, one at a time. I don't need it to go back $3, 60 cents, 70 cents, 40 cents. It just adds up 300, 500, 800. Before you know, you're up 5,000. Turn your computer off and go home. I could care less it went up on the day. I could care less. And you wait for the next time that gives you that chance. And that's how you can trade. And that's what I can do. And I believe that after Trump gets in and we win on the FingerMotion, that we're going to have a nice orderly market and everybody can be actually play and invest. Right now, if you're not a professional, it's very difficult to make money. So it's important that you vote for Trump. Pat Byrne will fix it. If you don't know who Pat Byrne is, just Google him. It's right there. Go to YouTube. Look at all the videos he made about naked short selling. Look at Deep Capture, the movie. Go watch his movie. He's right there. Go look at the thing we put up about him telling you about Goldman Sachs being a stock loan business. That's all there is. It's a trading desk. That's all it is. A back office, stock lending, whatever you want to call it. That's where they make all their money. It's all right there. He's got all the scoop. Is that it, William? We're all okay?
That's
Everybody's
pretty
okay?
much. There was a Senator Craig spread on GDC this morning, a wide spread, 67 cents.
It's 67 to 72, 7,300 by 500. Now, if you just paid attention, I talked about FingerMotion yesterday. It was 203 to 204, 10,000 to buy. I said they're going to wash it, which they did yesterday. Here it is. It's 67, 567 bid for 7,300. This is GDC, and there's 500 offered at 72. So you get a 5-cent spread. You can see that the short seller really wants nothing to do with making more sales, so the spread is wide. So the chance of a wash at 567 is slim to none because the spread is wide. If they drop it to 568, the 200 shares or 100 shares there, then I expect a wash because they're closing the spread. FingerMotion is 209 to 210. All right. I do believe that's the shorts on both sides. Okay. If anyone comes to buy it, they'll try to hold it and short it at 210. I don't know why, but I think it's both sides right now. So I think it's the short bidding and the short offering. So it's just really a non-event right now in the stock. But the spread is a penny. GDC is 5 cents. There's more fear in GDC right now than there is in Finger. But it changes in a second. The better play is Finger because I told you the easy money's been made in GDC already. The GDC is a professional stock right now, not a retail stock. It's got to be careful. I hope I explained that properly.
Yeah, you did.
And again, I watched that show on Apple TV. I'm watching Slow Horses and Mad Monkey, I think it is. If anybody wants to see those shows, they're pretty good. And that's it, William. I guess everybody's worn out or they're very educated and they're just sick of hearing me. I don't know.
We can run a poll.
Who's sick of hearing me? Anyway, I think that GDC is interesting. I'm watching it. Now that I know there's shorts up to 1.2 million, that guy will fold first without a question. The 1.2 million, he's a fast trader. The naked short is someone that has put a stake in this stock who wants to, bash it back down. He's for the home run swing. The 1.2 million is now going to disrupt the naked short because he will when he starts to cover, he's going to drive that stock up on the naked short, which could make the whole thing explode. So the naked short and the real short in that stock are two different people, and they're looking at each other, right? That could create a big panic there. We only have one person. The naked short and the real short are the same person. And they're both going to go, the one person's going to go to jail. And to sit here and risk everything is insane. Insane. I could see if the company had nothing, but the company has fundamentals and is not raising any money. So they picked the wrong horse. That's just what they did. All right, I guess I'll just go and enjoy the day then. Everybody's quiet. What can I
KYP
say?
says hi to you.
I tell her to go listen to the Purple Disco song. Get out there. That's for her. I put it up there for her. Go listen to that beat. Get back to me on it.
She says she doesn't need any advice from you.
She needs to hear that beat. Trust me, that's old school. Go listen to it. Anyway, everybody, listen, have a great day. I can't talk all day about the same thing. I follow very few names, and the other names I follow are really not for everybody here. So I own MLSS. I'm not really watching it, pay attention to it. So those are really not moving. I expect DJT. I can't believe that they keep trying to mark it down. I talked about before, a friend of mine in Long Island owned the stock ZYXI, ZYXI, yeah, that's the symbol. Zebra, yellow, X-ray, Indian. He owned it, and he was buying a ton. He bought 1 million shares, I think, at $10, somewhere between 8 and 10. The shorts drove it all the way down to $2. He bought a lot of stock on margin for clients. As it went down every day, he called Yvonne Hubler. She's the head of NASDAQ short sales. He called her up and registered a complaint because they were driving the stock down. He was calling his customers every day to put up more margin money. 1 day, 2 day, the third day, the clients are saying, screw you, I'm not putting any more money in. They drove the stock down. He had to make a lot of sales because of margin money. He makes as a broker. He has to sell the stock. They drove it down to 2. So the shorts were making people sell the stock who bought it on margin. And then the stock squeezed from 2 to 26. Was he steaming about it? And that's what they do. That's another part that people don't understand. FingerMotion doesn't have that because the stock is not margin. You can't buy it on margin. Not many people can. The stock is $2. If you can't afford a $2 stock, then you're in the wrong game. And you buy small amounts. You don't go buy it on margin. The stock is an option that doesn't expire, right? There's no time. The only reason you buy options is because you want to really leverage it up. And again, you got free inside information. The next president of the United States is telling you he's kicking out Gary Gensler. And Pat Burns telling you he's coming in. You got an invite to be in the administration. And the only thing he wants to do is force stock settlement. Not new rules, enforce stock settlement. He loves blockchain, and he loves to do nothing more than kill the shorts. That's my vote, just based on that. I could care less about anything else.
So after 25 years, what do you and your wife talk about?
Not naked shorting, that's for sure. Actually, I talk about my pickleball game more than anything else. KYP, I hit a round the pole shot last night at ATP, they call it.
Who was the pole?
No, the pole on the tent, like a pole on it that holds the net up.
I know.
They smashed it to my forehand side off the court, and I caught the ball maybe 3 feet out of bounds. Instead of hitting it back over the net, you're allowed to hit it around the net as long as I can get it back onto the lines and in between on the court to get it between the lines. It's a point. So I did it. I put it in the backhand corner on a shot back behind the gentleman was standing in front by the net, and I put it around him around the pole.
Swell.
That was the first time I did that. She would understand it.
That is swell.
That is, well, thank you, William. I'm glad I did all that hard work. You say that is swell. Anyway, the people I've been playing with appreciated it. They said, great shot. I said, thank you. Then I hit him in the chest with the ball. All right, I've lost my gusto here. Again, accumulation is the king. These guys have nowhere to go. The only way out is up. Where are they going? We're sitting here waiting for the CEO to get in touch with William. Hopefully we can get that going. William can have a bunch of questions for him. And we'll get it straight from the horse's mouth. What's the delay? What's going on? What's the value of that new contract with the trucks, the emergency vehicles? How do we stand with the data? I'm being told from my friend on an institutional desk that data information is coming. They spoke with the company. They had a what do you call it? An investors meeting with the company, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, I told you that was going to happen, and it did happen. I spoke with him again this morning. He says the big data numbers are starting to come in. So once that turns and there's no going back, once they start buying the data, it's going to be like crack. They want it all the time. There's 1.5 billion people, and FingerMotion has access to it. What's going on in the U.S. is not going on in China. Whatever's happening here with the election, like yesterday, I guess it was a Trump attack. They tried to knock his stock down because they thought he did shitty on his debate. I don't know. And the market pushed down, and FingerMotion got dragged into it. It has nothing to do with it. GBC, they have nothing to do with the U.S. elections. FingerMotion is doing cell phone technology, data, all kinds of crazy stuff like that in China, the biggest market in the world. Every public company would love to get into China to take advantage of that 1.5 billion people. FingerMotion has the opportunity to do that. It's right there. It's all on the tape. Watch the CEO. I'm not making it up. Do your homework. Take 10 minutes to look at it. I do believe that this is going to be a life-changing stock. I said it 1,000 times. The short is 230 million. If you think we're wacky, make it 100 million. If you think it's still too much, make it 50 million. 50 million? Okay, 50 million, you're going to have a $100 stock. Easy. That's how big a mess this is. And I cut it in half, sliced it, diced it, pick any number. 20 million gets you a $50 stock. That's how brutal it's going to be once it goes. Anyway, William, I had enough. It's boring, and no one has any questions, so I'll move along. All right, everybody, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call ended.
Trying to get back to you guys. Up here maybe. There I am. When did the Spanish guys visit again? That's pretty funny. That's very good too. I'm trying to figure out how to show you something. It's just so annoying. Here, maybe this. New widget. What's this? New. What's this? What's this? New image overlay. Let me see if that works. No, I don't want that. Maybe this will work. Let me see. It did, sort of. Sort of. I just want to show you guys out there. This is Barrick Gold mining, Barrick Gold. And of all the stocks in the world you can own in the mining space, this is probably the best one. It's you can see in 2020 it was as high as roughly 30. A couple of years ago it was 26, and right now it's broken out it has broken out. It's up in the $22, well, $21 range. And it's at a price that you can buy this and you don't have to worry about any other miner if you buy it at these prices. Barrick Gold. Oh. Why is everything changing? Why is everything changing? I don't know what I'm doing. That's lucky right there. Anyway, so Barrick Gold, I'm just bringing it to your attention. I think I'm going to just call it there because I'm a little bit bored today too. All these books I studied over the last couple of decades are all kind of old. I guess I should try to write a book. It feels like I loathe having to listen to him. Maybe have other people talk to him. I don't loathe it. It's just hearing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I don't care who talks to you if you hear the same thing. I don't loathe it, but it just gets repetitive. There is a way, Jason, and I really don't know how to do it, but I think there's a way where I can have people call into this system and they can join me on the screen and you all can call in. But I don't, it's a feature. I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it. I think there's a whole career out there for people to be human beings rather than calling in or chatting to some computer somewhere with your question. If guys like me could hire somebody come, I'd bring someone here. I'd pay him for 3 hours of training. I'd pay him. Boom. Hey, Dan. Yeah, lucky boy Barbara's getting a little bit. I will pat him. He's getting a little bit old, and I have a date tonight. Yay. And I've got to figure out how to keep him calm while I'm gone. I won't be gone very long, but why does anyone care about a Chinese company? That's probably true, Frank. Ham's gone, so I guess for me to answer it, I would say if there is indeed an institutional company, a brokerage firm in New York who is starting to put it around to their institutional clients, that would be more interesting than anything else. But it all comes down to revenue. It all comes down to and predictability, revenue, repeatability, growth, and predictability. I mean, I think it's a fair question. It seems like there's some uncertainty. If Kamala is president, we probably end up, I don't know, flip of a coin. We'll either be a puppy dog to China, or we might fight them over Taiwan. If Trump comes in, I'd worry more about a tariff war, and that doesn't usually end up very well. But I don't think we'd have a shooting war. and maybe we'd get back to business. Chinese are business people first and foremost, although they do want to take our empire down. Trump's a business person if he got in. I don't think he is going to. So it's a good question. I mean, there are Chinese companies out there that do quite well, thank you very much. But it's a good question. I'll try to get Ham to answer it next time. A master class on stock research, investing, and trading. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. The biggest part there is the research. Nova Gold's good. Let me look up Nova Gold. Didn't I give you that name at one point? I think I did. So I just showed you, Jason. I just showed you Barrick Gold. And this guy I followed a long time. And his name is Dr. Stephen Lieb, and I used to subscribe to his research. I probably will again. But he has on page 217 of his book, China's Rise and the New Age of Gold, on page 217, he has the subheading Junior Miners. Junior Miners. The gold investments with the biggest potential rewards, he doesn't say it that way. He's from New York. Rewards are the small mining companies known as junior miners. These companies own or have significant stakes in properties known to contain gold and other precious metals, but they haven't really started mining operations yet. Many are still in the midst of the long and multi-stage process of obtaining environmental permits. The one that some of you invested in, no problemo with that. Because they are not yet generating earnings, they may need to seek funding to keep the process going, to build the necessary infrastructure, and to conduct exploratory operations to determine the likely potential of their holdings. Even though investing in junior miners seems to require a certain degree of faith, the key is to make sure it's not blind faith. Some junior miners will fall by the wayside, but the ones who make it will reward you many times over, greatly leveraging the rise in gold prices itself. I can't eliminate, this is Dr. Stephen Lieb, I can't eliminate all the risks, but I've done the legwork to single out the junior miners who are the most solidly situated whilst offering potential rewards that are amongst the highest you will find in any investment area. These are companies in which you can make multiples of your initial money investment in a gold bull market as they go from money losing, in other words, they're just raising money to build out, to producers. And then in some cases, they can achieve the ranks of major producers. And that little one that you guys invested in with me, that could be a major someday. To cut the risk, I have focused, this is Dr. Stephen Lee, almost exclusively on miners with assets in politically safe regions. Even at current gold prices, each would be profitable shortly after beginning mining operations. All right, and let me see what year this was written again. This is copyright Jason in 2021. Anyway, Jason, the number one junior miner that Dr. Stephen Lee selects is Nova Gold. Nova Gold. And he says, if I had to pick just one junior miner to recommend, Nova Gold Resources would be the clear choice. It is likely the world's largest junior miner, and once it has developed, it will become one of the world's largest miners. Its major property, the Donlin mine, in terms of measured reserves and resources, is likely the largest undeveloped gold deposit in the world. There's another gold company with a similar name in Australia that Eric Sprott was one of the investors in and I invested in, which might be bigger than anything, but it ran into short sellers and it wasn't continuous. So I'll leave that off right now. We'll talk about that one later. So anyway, Nova Gold owns the Donlin mine, which is located in southwest Alaska within the Kuskokwim Gold Belt. The Kuskokwim has been producing gold since the end of the 19th century. Through 1959, most of the world, I think that's when Cuba became Castro. Most of the gold produced came from what is known as placer mining, which involves gathering up gold that lies on the surface of stream beds or at the bottom of streams. Placer mining is a simple process that can be carried out by a single prospector. Between 1908 and 1959, approximately 600,000 ounces of gold were found in the region simply by sifting through sand and stream beds. This is a clear sign of how rich in gold the area is. Donlin's current mineable resources are pegged at nearly 40 million ounces of gold. I'm not promising it, I'm not predicting it, but the little gold investment some of you guys did on just straight arithmetic and sort of I would say slightly more than midpoint, maybe midpoint of the gold resource they might have if the pilot plant works. And I'm not promising this. You'll think I'm cuckoo. So long, good night, Advita saying goodbye, cuckoo. Anyway, our little gold miner could have 200 million ounces of gold. 200 million ounces of gold. And so this Nova Gold has current mineable resources pegged at 40 million ounces of gold, and it's likely one of the world's largest miners. This figure is likely to expand by many multiples, so it'll get bigger. But I'm just telling you what our little one could be too. Once more aggressive exploration gets going and defines additional resources. Donlin is in a remote part of the state, far from Alaska's major cities and infrastructure. However, once the infrastructure is built exploration will proceed full bore. In developing Donlin, Nova Gold has a heavyweight partner. You want to know who? You want to know who? You want to know who? How does this work? I wish I knew how to make this work. This is who? Their heavyweight partner is Barrick Gold, one of the world's largest miners. The two companies are 50-50 partners in Donlin. The partnership began in 2007 and has been mainly devoted to exploration and satisfying environmental rules. All necessary permits have been granted, and this lets the companies move on to obtain the financing they need to build the multi-billion-dollar infrastructure which will support mining operations. Based on current estimates of mineable gold, and with gold at its current price of $1,500 an ounce, it's now $2,500 an ounce, by the way, Nova Gold's net present value, which is, you already incorporate the capex in that, is $5.8 billion. That $5.8 billion at the time of this writing was 2.5 times the current market cap of the stock. At current gold prices, there are other junior miners who have higher potential return multiples of NPV than Nova Gold does. None of them, however, have the kind of upside potential that Nova Gold has if we get a full-fledged gold bull market, which I anticipate. This potential is driven by the inherent leverage Nova Gold has to higher gold prices. This comes from its ability to sharply ramp up gold production once the infrastructure is in place. For example, at a gold price of $2,500, Nova Gold's NPV rises to more than $13.5 billion, which is more than 6 times the company's current capitalization. At a price of $5,000, the potential return would be 14-fold. This is just a start. Beyond leverage to the price of gold, Nova Gold likely has even greater leverage to the additional gold reserves and possibly other minerals that will be defined at Donlin. John Dorba is a retired University of Nevada professor. He notes, and now we go to, let me take this off. Oh, cool. I can just move it over there. See, I'm learning. I'm learning. Just put this over here. Wow. But it's still not a web page. All right. So this goes back to talking about Nevada. He's making a shift. And that's where our little gold company is. John Dorba is a retired University of Nevada. He notes that gold reserve estimates for the state of Nevada, probably the most prolific gold mining state of the lower 48, reserves have climbed 8-fold since 1990. In Donlin, which is Alaska, reserve estimates could easily multiply by 10-fold or greater. Could you make 100 times on your money in Nova Gold? The symbol is, survey says, I don't know what the symbol is for Nova Gold. He says, yeah, you might. Anyway, let's leave it there. The big cap miners to buy Newmont and Barrick. Newmont and Barrick, by the way, both own Gold Strike in Nevada, and they're processing the same kind of gold that our little company has. It's the Carlin trend. It's what makes them the largest gold producers in the United States. He prefers Newmont mining over Barrick Gold. I think both are good. But he likes Barrick's ownership of Nova Gold's Donlin mine. So if you buy Barrick and Nova Gold, you're kind of putting your eggs in the same basket. And then Franco-Nevada, I've told you about. Anyway, we'll go over that. It's 1:25. I'm gonna quit in 5 minutes because I've got to go buy I don't know what, something that I can give Lucky so he's not anxious while I'm on my date. What, 4 hours? I don't know. He gets anxious though. Finger is the only green I see. It's Thursday, so I have a feeling tomorrow won't be very active, so you don't need to worry about all your stock positions until next week. Let me see if anyone's saying anything. Yeah, that's good, Jason. That's good. I worked for Gnome Gold. Well, one of the problems I notice about gold, Roger, I've been around it for a while. It's a little like real estate, but everybody thinks they understand it, you know? And gold just makes men crazy. They lose their mind. Truth is like an angel. Gonna hit it and quit it. Harris will not win. Educated black folks are voting for Trump, also Hispanics. I hope you're right, Mr. Tang Wu. I don't think it's just educated black folks. I think there's plenty. I mean, but I think African American women are reportedly are going for Kamala because, you know, she's got slightly darker skin. She grew up in Canada, a rich child. She's never been impoverished. She never has worried where her food is coming from. And she got lifted up through her career by strong, powerful men. But yet, the color of her skin, the slight tinge to her skin is enough to get African American women pretty excited about Kamala. But also other, you know, there's plenty of white women and white men that are excited about her too. Like Bill Clinton said, she has a 1,000-watt smile. Whatever that's worth. I like Judge Brown. He pointed out that her wares, her female appeal, is probably not going to work with Xi or Putin. It works when she was a younger woman, but it probably won't work now. That's a little harsh on Judge Brown, but it was interesting anyway. I think Hispanics, I don't know if there's a distinction between men and women with Hispanics. I know a lot of strong, I'm friends with quite a number of strong Hispanic women, and they want to vote for Kamala. They don't like Republicans, and but they're not at all pleased with this migrant issue, and that people can just jump the line and come in. So I think Trump's going to do much better among minorities, I guess is a better way to say it, than most expect, Mr. Tang. But this election is probably comes down to, I don't know, fewer than 50,000 people, real people, and it's probably comes down to Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta. I don't believe North Carolina's in play. It probably comes down to Phoenix or Maricopa County, and it might come down to Reno. That's it. And I think they will have cheated Philadelphia. They already know what they're going to do in Philadelphia. They'll bring in truckloads of ballots like they did last time, pre-printed, flown in from China. They land at JFK, and then they're driven down in the middle of the night, like last time. There's a gentleman that has made sworn testimony that he drove them down. I think Democrats will win Philadelphia by cheating. I have a feeling they'll win Atlanta by cheating as well. I do not believe Georgia's blue. I don't think it was blue last time, but I think they did cheat it very well, very well. This time, down in Georgia, possibly even places like South Carolina, I do think African American women, if they back Kamala, and I saw this, Drew Barrymore did this video with Kamala where she called her Mamala. So maybe I'm supposed to say Kamala? I don't know. Kamala, whatever. I think it's Kamala. She could get a lot of African American votes from women. And maybe that'll make Georgia and North Carolina come into her column. But I really think, Mr. Tang, it's going to come down to Philadelphia. And I think the Democrats have it under control. It'll be Atlanta, too. Do you remember Ruby and her daughter running the same ballots through behind plywood? They'll do that, too. I think Atlanta... I don't trust that Georgia will be red. So I think you're absolutely right when you say that Harris will not win. But I think you can't find news anymore that's accurate. But so I'm not going to even Google it. I'm sure it's all been manipulated. But last time, Mr. Tang, Trump got 73 million votes, the most of anybody in history, and Biden somehow got 81 million. He couldn't get 12 people to show up in Jeeps, but he got 81 million. Well, when you added 81 million to 73 million, that was, to my memory, something like 15 million more than all the registered voters in the United States. It wasn't possible. So last time they cheated by ballots, by 30 days before and days afterward, no postmarks, etc. They drove vans down, and in Georgia they put plywood up, and Miss Ruby and her daughter and others ran satchelfuls of fake ballots through to make sure that Biden won by just enough. So I think Harris will not win, but I think the Democratic machine will make sure she is installed as our president. That's how I see it. I think Philadelphia will be cheated for Kamala Harris. I think Atlanta will be cheated for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris came out with the Trump policy of no taxes on tips. So I think Nevada will be cheated for Kamala Harris. I think Arizona will be cheated for Kamala Harris. I thought Michigan would go to Kamala Harris, but her answer the other night was disastrous for her in terms of the Muslim vote in Michigan, in my opinion. But they could still cheat it. They could still cheat it. So I agree with you. I don't think Harris will win, but I do think she'll be our next president. And I hope you're right, Mr. Tang. I hope you're right. Hey, flying bus driver. The 2 calls, that's not bad. That's spelled Barrett? No, Barrick. Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold. You can see it right here. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Barrick Gold. And the other one is Newmont. That's NEM. Let me see the symbol for Nova Gold. I don't know the symbol. That's very close to another gold company. Nova Gold is NG. Nova Gold Resources. NG. I like Alamis Gold. I met the CEO of Alamis Gold. Oh. APS 71. What's this? They say they're out on Harris people. Common sense today thanks to social media. I hope so. I hope so. I think last time, one thing that disappointed me about Trump, he didn't do anything about it. But I think all of us can agree on a few things as we hate each other. We can all agree that this is a free country and it should be free for everybody. And the second thing we should be able to agree is we should have fair elections. I think fair elections mean one-day voting, with maybe minor exceptions, one-day voting, ID to prove you're a U.S. citizen, and paper ballots. That's what I think would make them fair. But I think they should be fair. And you should be able to say, recount. That's what the Republicans did in Florida and Ohio. I mean, the Democrats did, sorry. Al Gore and John Kerry, the Democrats did. Oh, you have been on Zoom calls with different voters? That's pretty cool, Mr. Tang. That means your information is better than mine, which I'm not surprised. She diddy this, she diddy that. All right, I'm going to sign off. Black women are out as well, unless they are her sorority sisters. Well, I don't think she's black. I mean, I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into that story the way Trump did. But her father, no one knows. I don't know. I spent some time reading about it. I don't know if my sources of information are correct. But her father, her father's grandfather was an Irish jerk, slave owner, a mean, mean man. And then his other side of his family apparently was Indian, not African, not African. But I don't know. He's Jamaican. But I read it. I'm not making it up. And I don't, but the problem was the source I was reading, I don't know if it was verifiable. But I don't think her father is African at all. But he comes from a slave-owning family. See, do you see how things are a little more complex than just judging people by the color of their skin? Sometimes you have to judge them by the content of their character, if you can figure it out. Sometimes just judge them by the clothes they wear or the car they drive. Anyway, I'm going to take that. It's 1:40. I'm going to sign off. Thank everybody for tuning in. We'll talk about other stocks and everything as we go. But I'm going to go walk over where it takes me a while. I'm going to go try to find something that could give Lucky to knock him out without killing him, so I can go out for 5 hours, 6 hours. So everybody, peace. Take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.